put it in the
Yeah, it's in gallery view. So okay, welcome back, guys. Yeah, it's been a long time. I just don't know why we didn't upload. But now that we're here, let's focus on the news that we have to go over of the past month and a half that we've missed out on. We're sorry that there was no sort of formal greeting from us even on the New Year's, but that's fine. We're back, and that's what matters. So let's get started with sort of the biggest topic that is kind of taking the world by storm is the Ukraine crisis revolving Russia and USA. As we know that there has been a certain rise in tensions between the two nations and the possibility of a Russian invasion into Ukraine, which has been something on Russia's mind for the longest time. Because we have known like Russia for a long time, and Ukraine has been one of the very few countries that has stood out against Russia and protected its borders. But right now, there seems to be claims on USA's side, claiming that Russia is a threat and is standing near Ukraine's border with a, I quote, with 100,000 Russian troops. So, guys, this is World War III, Cold War II in the making. What do we have to say?
It was always, Putin's goal. He wants to bring back the Soviet Union, bring glory to motherland Russia. That was always his goal. And the first step is get the breadbasket of Europe, which is Ukraine. And so if I'm Russia, I wait until winter and invade Ukraine because no one wins in Russia in winter. We all know that. So
Good.
Yeah, I think
Strategic.
even a lot of US diplomats and like top officials were saying how bad this could be, because obviously because the conflict that has been there for a few years, and now that we've got the information, the attack could actually be really bad for Ukraine and even for Russia, because once they attack, it would become a war essentially, like you said, and that would just increase the number of people dying. And but the US defense secretary also, I think, recently said that they could use talks and get through with policy, but I feel like that's not going to happen, because the kind of country Russia is and the way Putin works, he is not the type to choose the diplomatic route, and that is the reason you see so many troops at the border right now.
Yeah, and I don't think USA would like want to miss out on the opportunity of fighting a war. I think they love war. They love guns. They love death, and that's what drives a lot of USA to be like the biggest superpower in the world is because of how powerful they are in their army. So I think,
like
yeah, people in
so
Europe, yeah, definitely go
like
ahead.
people in Europe should definitely be worried. But if you're the USA, no matter what the defense secretary says, if a war comes, it'll be profitable for America. They'll sell a lot of weapons to Ukraine. They might even sell some weapons to Russia, because for all we know, because the USA is just crazy like that. So, and there's still hope of no war, because especially in the age of nuclear weapons, if a war goes left, you never know. We might all be dead. So they might try to turn to diplomatic talks, and it let's hope that Sleepy Joe does not sleep on this and he acts fast.
I don't know. I think he seems like he might just get forced into war by his defense secretaries. They seem to have more power over him, and I think he could easily get swayed into anything, any form of decision making. Actually, the decision's even not really his. I think it just comes down to the defense secretaries deciding if they want to go into an all-out war, even though it's his choice at the end of the day as the president. He just doesn't seem to have that sort of power over anything in his administration. And I mean, recently after dropping the F bomb on the not the F bomb, but he called the Fox reporter a son of a a bitch, which we can
Make
say on
it.
YouTube. We can say bitch on YouTube because it's the definition of the female dog. That's allowed. But basically, oh boy. So he's been in a soup for a while. But if war breaks out, I think Soam is right. They should invade during Christmas. But I think that's too long of a gap. Even though I think it's still relatively cold in Russia, definitely if you want some strategic advice, to tune into this podcast, any Russian troops. We don't know much about war, but invading in winter, that given Russia's history, that should work out just well, and they should be able to start World War III, which we do not look forward to, which we don't want. And to really add, okay, moving on. Fun fact: Russia actually has 100,000 troops, which is blowing a lot of people's minds. But Germany's army in World War II, this is was 13.5 million troops. So this is nothing if you wanna like talk about the scale at which World War III could possibly take place. This is probably 0.01% of Russia's possible army that could end up ruling over Ukraine. So we never know what the real figures are. Just
You
trying to
know,
get people to,
I have
yeah.
a question for you guys. So even in America, we're wondering this, but since the election, we really have not seen Kamala Harris. She's gone missing, really. Like, do you know what she's up to? Do any of you guys know?
Last I heard was actually don't know. I mean,
Yeah, you're right. She has been quiet. Like you haven't heard even about her in the news. Nothing at all. She's like gone undercover.
Like even with Mike Pence, you would hear he did a speech or something, and we all know Dick Cheney was the puppet master behind George W. Bush, but we have no idea about Kamala Harris.
yeah, I think the weird thing is she isn't even appearing in press conferences or standing by the side because that's what most VPs, even during Obama's time, Biden was always by his side. And even the media, even the liberal media doesn't seem to be talking about her at all. Like, there's not, there's nothing coming from her side. We haven't heard anything about her. So yeah, that is very weird though. That is quite weird that she's gone quiet all of a sudden. But with
And
that, I guess,
move on. Let's move on to our
yeah,
next topic. Is schools coming back for you guys in India?
yes, schools did come back a while back, but they went silent again, and then now they're coming back in full force. I mean, I don't know much about this topic, but all I know is for my school, for me and V's school, we go to the same school, so it's from this Monday that all students must attend physical classes.
Yeah, so what happened with us, I think it was around September, the school had started offline for the first time, like with proper all the students, and it went on till December. But after the December break, Mumbai actually had a huge peak in the cases, and we went up to 1,000 COVID cases a day, and I think a lot of parents and people found that like very intimidating because like it was really less. The COVID was not even that much when we were giving our exams, so the exams that we just our exams just got over. We had the option of staying online or going offline. So yeah, some students were online, some students were offline. But from Monday, the government has released a statement saying that we all have to go to school from Monday. So yeah, we're all getting our tests done, and I think most of us have the first dose of the vaccine as well.
So like
Yeah,
Omicron is pretty under control in India, you'd say, after the first wave.
yeah, I think it was blown out of proportion by the whole world, or at least India in particular, because the death rate was like 500,000 cases and like one death maybe, and that was like the death rate was always very very low, almost
And
non-existent.
anyways, most of the deaths that were there, it said that like more than 90% of the time it was a non-vaccinated person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely blown out of proportion. Wasn't really that big of a threat. The only worry was that everyone would get COVID. In fact, I almost no, I think Soham and me almost had COVID. We actually don't know because we never got tested, but we did fall
Even
sick.
I almost
And
had
I did
COVID.
I did get COVID. I tested positive here in the US, and
Yeah,
it was not
yeah.
too bad. So I say I'm like triple immunized because I have my two shots and I got COVID. So
Wow. Wait, so you had COVID even after having two shots?
yeah, you can still get COVID after the vaccine, which is
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
That's I think one of the biggest arguments coming from anti-vaxxers, or I guess, is that it is not as effective as the science claims it is. But moving on from the issue of COVID, which I think at this point, the lesser we talk about it, the better it is. Because now I think all companies are going to treat it like a flu that's maybe going to come in winter and then go away. And it's,
Yeah.
it's just
I
going
think
to
Europe
become
is
like,
already taking it that way, right? Because Europe, the EU is already saying that they're looking at it as a situation where it's like a common cold. or any general disease. They're not going to
Yeah,
treat it
I
like a
think.
pandemic. They're treating it like an endemic now.
So
Yeah, I think.
don't invest in Pfizer stocks. They're gonna go down from here.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
think UK removed all COVID-19 mandates on like a couple of days back. Every mandate they had, they just took it all off. US still seems to be pretty stern on the mandates. We'll see about that in the future, but that's the case with UK. With the news sort of gotten over, let's change the energy of the pod. We've been too formal and we've been less expressive. So I think we're gonna go over certain just topics in general. Um, I think we could start off with a certain uh, controversy regarding Spotify and Joe Rogan. There have been two controversies in particular. The first one is that Jordan Peterson, who a lot of viewers from India might not know about, he's like a self-help uh, psychologist who has quite sketchy views on politics, in my opinion. Soham, do you have more on this guy?
Yeah, he's like, typical right winger who says he's not right wing, he's just not modern left wing. So, he does not believe in climate change, does not believe in vaccines, does not believe racism still exists. So you're pretty typical right winger that says, if you're poor, you're poor because of yourself, and you can become rich.
So
So you
yeah,
can imagine when he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, and Joe Rogan, whenever his guest is there, if it's a communist, he'll agree with communism. If it's anarchist, he'll agree with anarchy. So Jordan Peterson went on there and said climate change is not real. The facts are all fake, and the word climate is not real itself. So
yeah, that's not exactly what he said, but basically what he said was that the word listen, I'm an ESS student, so I think I know what climate change is. I know like the definition of the exact word. He said climate includes everything. And he said we don't have enough statistics on everything. So all the models showcasing climate change and temperature rises are false and we can't trust it. And it's not that he's not a believer in science, you know, he's definitely not a religious guy, but at the same time he questions science all the time. So I don't know what this is a part of. This is new propaganda anti climate change, but basically the
I think
definition of,
going
yeah.
against something simple like climate change is again something like saying that the earth is flat. Like people still like there's actually people who genuinely think that the earth is still flat and like you can fall off the edge or whatever, or things like that. So I think this thing is pretty close to that, I would say. I mean, it's pretty obvious and the science behind it is like proven, but like I guess he does not believe in that.
Yeah, but I think this is actually quite scary because Joe Rogan, each one of his podcasts end up getting over 10 million views on Spotify and like 10 million listens. So he has a huge audience. And maybe his monthly listeners are around like 30, 40 million people, which is a lot. You know, if you know how much musical artists get, can you imagine someone watching a 3 hour podcast? That's way much more watch time than just listening to a 3 minute song. So if they're hearing people say like, oh, climate, you know, it's we can't trust the science, we don't know much, it includes everything. See, as it stands, if you're watching it, climate is essentially it represents the state of the atmosphere for a period of time not less than 30 years. So that's what it represents. The state of the atmosphere, Jordan Peterson. Not every single thing. It may not talk about every rock on earth weathering or every part of the soil eroding. It talks about the atmosphere. And I have a simple question. If we have enough information telling us that we're going to die out at certain point, isn't that enough to like become a climate change activist or to do good for the climate? Like, do you really need more information on everything? Don't you already know enough? Aren't polar bears dying in the in Antarctica? Isn't that enough to convince you to like not drive a carbon car, to switch to electrical substitutes? Like I don't get it. I just don't get his logic and where he's
you know
coming from.
what's really funny for a lot of these people, like the most famous saying from Ben Shapiro, another typical right wing talk show host, is facts don't care about your feelings, and they get the facts, and they're like, I feel like that fact's not real. So it's just like, didn't you just say all you care about is facts and data? So it's all very stupid, and That's the problem with modern political discourse, is that people are in a box. So if you're left wing, you have to agree with left wing ideas. If you're right wing, you have to agree with right wing ideas, no matter how stupid or ridiculous they seem.
Yeah, I think these problems exist on both sides. Like this podcast has been so balanced. We've kind of shit on Biden, but at the same time, we've maintained shitting on the right wing pundits. So I think that's nice of us. So let's move on unless we have something more to add. Let's talk about some news regarding cryptocurrency. Uh, it's been in the news for the past 24 hours because the crypto co-founder has been revealed to be a fraudster, and investors are kind of taken aback by that. And so, do you have more on this exactly? What do you have to say?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I always say you shouldn't invest in crypto, invest in NFTs. You know, don't go to college, don't go to high school, just go to NFTs, as my idol Gary Vee says. What does NFT stand for, Gulal?
we
What
can't we can't we can't say that.
Okay, but for real, that's the risk with crypto. A lot of athletes like Aaron Rodgers and Odell Beckham Jr., they lost over $100,000 because they put a portion of their salary into Bitcoin, and that's always the risk. So, you know, th- there's it's essentially like going to Vegas and playing those slot machines. That's what cryptocurrency is.
Yeah.
No matter how much crypto bros try to tell you that you'll be living in Dubai because of cryptocurrency.
So, just in particular, investors were shaken because the co-founder of cryptocurrency protocol was accused of being a serial scammer with a record of convictions and deportations. And he was a co-founder of a fraudulent Canadian exchange, which sort of was it's old. This is very old. This happened a long time back, but this has just come into the news. People have just found out about this. So I mean, if you're messing with crypto, just know that it's very volatile, and you could lose money if you're talking a lot of money. So
Yeah, and also
be
I feel
careful.
like this, if you know this, this is not the first time there's been a fraudulent person in the cryptocurrency area. There was also another previous one of the previous cryptocurrencies very recently, and the guy who owned the crypto actually committed like a complete fraud over everyone who owned that, and he took like millions of dollars, and he's hiding in Peru now. And that was, I think, really funny because it all happened overnight, and people were shocked in the morning when they realized that, oh, the guy's gone, like you cannot do anything about it now. He has all the money he needs, and people lost a lot of money. So yeah.
Yeah, the co-founder's name is Patron. He changed his legal name twice. I mean, that's enough. Like, he changed his legal name twice. This is very weird stuff. Okay, his co-partner Gerald Cotton suddenly died in India in 2019 while owing users 190 million in crypto. Okay, this is very weird. This is okay. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, if you are dealing in cryptocurrency, all the best. But uh, these aren't exactly the things that you want to hear coming out of that business. So
That's why deal in NFTs. Don't
yes,
go to school.
don't go to college. College is a scam. So as we move on from this topic, let's let's talk some. Sorry, I believe we missed out on another part of the Spotify controversy. This is a smaller section with Joe Rogan. Basically, there's a musician by the name of Neil Young. Your parents might know him. He's quite an old legendary singer. He criticized Joe Rogan for manipulating audiences. So Spotify took his music down. So this is
Oh,
just very weird stuff. And he isn't some old lost singer. I mean, of course, he's not averaging the numbers that he was when he was a big hit. But he's a very big legendary singer, and they just took his
yeah, no,
music
but
down.
most
Yeah,
companies, like basically online streaming companies, I think they find that top users really important, because I don't know
mm,
if you guys know about this. There's a streamer called Gideon, and he recently
yeah,
got like he banned on Twitch because, so what he did was like, this is very common, raiding Twitch streams. So Twitch streamers just like raid other Twitch streamers chat, and their users like type something. So what Gideon basically did was he got his chat in Pokemains who is like she is basically the top female streamer and one of the top total streamers as well on Twitch. And obviously she's really important to Twitch. And he first got banned only for 14 days, but then at 1:30 in the night, apparently Pokimane had called Twitch to from her phone directly, and he got permanently banned off Twitch just because of raiding her chat and making some comments about her. And
Yeah,
not it's like his first time ever getting a warning or anything. So I think that just shows that it's important to the companies who their top streamers are and who their top users are. So that's more important to them, I guess.
yeah.
It's
So just
really
an over.
stupid
Yeah,
on Spotify's part because they got the most vulgar music on there. That's like the most vulgar stuff you can ever hear of, and then he just criticizes Joe Rogan and he's banned. So it's all a cash play. Joe Rogan brings in the cash. He's their big money signing. Like he got like a huge contract from Spotify to stream over there. So it,
$100 million.
yeah, it's all about money, and all that's all really it is.
I think, yeah, it's also like he's always acting like this independent anti-cancel culture pundit. But does he not realize he just cancelled Neil Young? I mean, this is literally what cancel culture is. They banned his music. They cancelled him from their organization. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I knew this guy was a hypocrite. I didn't know it could go to this extent. But I mean, just let's move on from like these serious and like dumb issues.
So I
And
know Veer's also a big basketball fan, and Gulal also watches it. Veer, whose do you think is the MVP right now, like of the league, of the NBA?
Like,
yeah,
I
move,
know
move, move.
a lot of people are saying that Steph is in a big shooting slump right now, but I still feel like he is the MVP. Like if you see his team last year, people were saying the problem is that even though he's putting up good numbers, his team was like the eighth seed and whatever. But I feel like we're like in the top three seeds now. We've had one of the best records coming from an eighth seed to like a top two seed team. So I feel like Steph is the MVP. But if not Steph, I don't think it can be KD right now because of his injury, and even for that matter, Joel Embiid. He's playing really great right now, and I think he's second in line after Steph Curry if anyone's there.
I think I thought Steph Curry was the MVP in the start, but he's not really playing that well. And uh, honestly, he's not like early on he was on fire, but right now he's not playing that well. And I think you said the slump, and I guess I hold more importance on the slump. That's why I think Giannis should win MVP. He's played every game. He doesn't shoot much, so he doesn't enter a slump. And the thing that differentiates Giannis is that he could also win Defensive Player of the Year. So he plays
I
both.
get that, but the problem with that would be that the voters fatigue. Like the voters are not going to get Giannis back again in the MVP race because he's already been there twice, and that to two in a row. I doubt that Giannis would win the MVP.
Yeah, and there's a lot of hype for Nikola Jokic right now because there's this thing in
Same.
basketball called advanced analytics. It's like a lot of math-based numbers, and all the advanced analytic nerds they love Nikola Jokic. And even though his team's not doing that good, which is kind of dumb that they said Steph Curry can't win MVP last year because his team wasn't good, and now they're saying Nikola Jokic will win MVP even though his team's not good. So it's
Right, he's first in the race. I think from last week he was first in the race.
Yeah, and one of the biggest storylines is Russell Westbrook, how he's been playing. I know he played pretty good last night, but
Yeah.
he got benched and he's turning the ball over. He's chucking up
But
random shots.
also, he comes in the top four least efficient shooters on a minimum of 300 attempts. So you can like guess the kind of shooting he's doing. And I just recently saw videos talking about how his turnovers are the problem. But I feel like the triple double that he used to get was like really valuable for his team's win, and he isn't doing that as much as he would like even in the times when he was in the Washington Wizards. The way he was playing there, I think if he got that play style back and he adjusted a little bit more, but he's just like he's playing awfully. What do you have to say about
Yeah,
the All Star selections?
I think like Shaq said, Russell needs to slow down a little
Yeah,
bit and relax.
Yeah, he plays really fast. That's people say your greatest strength is your greatest weakness, and his greatest strength that he never plays. He always gives his effort, but the thing
that's
about
true.
basketball is you need to play in multiple speeds, and Russell Westbrook only knows one speed, which is 130 miles per hour. So now, do we want to talk about the Australian Open? The Novak Djokovic, controversy, where he
Yeah,
faked
I just
vaccine.
I just want to say my MVP is Alex Caruso. I know he got injured, but I mean, ever since he got traded to the Bulls, he's clearly had a better legacy than LeBron James,
I
Scottie
think
Pippen,
everybody
and
who
Dennis
gets
Rodman combined, right? I mean, he's already passed like LBJ and like Michael Jordan. We all know that. He's averaging
Yeah,
19
I think
points a
anybody who
game.
gets traded from the Lakers just like goes off, like Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, everybody is just having a great season, and I think Lakers are really a big problem.
justice for Alex Caruso. If you don't know what happened, there's this dude
Yeah,
named Grayson
yeah.
Allen. He's one of the most hated players. What he did was he
I,
literally grabbed Alex Caruso in the air and threw him down like he's a WWE
he
guy.
fractured his wrist, right?
Yeah,
He's
so
done this. Yeah, he's done this before. He's one game suspension, isn't it? Should have been severe
That is,
consequences.
yeah. So let's talk about what Djokovic did, the vaccine controversy. Do you agree with what the Australian government did? What's your opinion?
I think I feel like Australia takes COVID really seriously because if you remember, even at the beginning of COVID, Australia and New Zealand were one of the first places to like be COVID free for a while. And I think New Zealand and Australia did become COVID free for like a few months, and they were managing it really well. So I do feel like they take this issue of COVID really seriously, and even now because the pandemic isn't exactly over. Yeah. So what do you guys have to say? You're on mute, Gulal.
I guess okay, fine, I'll go. I it started off as something so silly, like first I heard that he's he's not vaccinated. Why did he show up to the airport if he's not vaccinated? What did he think he would get away with it? Like I don't know what he was thinking. And then his dad had a quote saying, "We will never bow down to the capitalists." What is going on? And then he's going off on the vaccine mandates and saying how it's propaganda. I think this is some form of if it's not like maybe it's not like some form of Serbian sort of point of view. It's certainly like a he's coming from somewhere. Like I get where he's coming from, saying that this is I'm not going to bow down to some mandate. I don't know what the logic is that if he doesn't, it's just a vaccine, and if he's ready to miss out on a grand slam because of these principles, then fine, that's his choice. But I think actually the bigger problem that it shed light on was on the issue of people being trapped in a particular hotel in Australia for like years and years. There have been people who have been stuck in that hotel in that part of the country because there's some issue with their visa in their country. So it sort of shed light on the other people who were living in the hotel with Novak Djokovic, who Australia hasn't had enough information to let go yet, or who are sort of just stuck and stranded in a way. So yeah,
And this has really brought out the anti-vaxxer activists. They're calling him Novax. That's what they're saying, free Novax. And this is what Djokovic does. Like he said, like in 2010, I believe, there was some really funny stuff where where a doctor had him hold bread in his left hand and nothing in his right hand, and he said his left hand felt weaker, therefore he must have gluten intolerance just by holding bread. So that's just who he is. Like a lot of athletes are like this, like Kyrie Irving, Novak Djokovic, sorry. So it does is opens the way for Rafael Nadal to win his 21st Grand Slam.
yeah, it's. I mean, I'm a Nadal fan, so it's good because he would have lost if Djokovic took part. He would not have made it to the finals if he had faced Djokovic in the semis
No,
or
no,
something like
I
that.
disagree because the vaccine would affect his tennis play, right? That's what Djokovic believes.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, if he would have performed terribly because you know how not having COVID is bad for you. So I mean, I'm happy that that the Australian Open did end up taking place and Nadal's reached the finals, which is taking place tomorrow. So I look forward to that. There's not much more to really talk about. So we've discussed over the entertainment, sports, and the news. I think if you guys have any closing comments or just something that we're missing out on. And now you understand what this podcast is going to be like. It's definitely a lot more different than last time, and we hope this makes it a lot more easier for you to watch it because it's just sort of like a calm discussion that isn't too heavy on the facts and too heavy on the data. But thank you for sticking with us. We hope USA and Russia find diplomacy talks. We hope Djokovic gets vaccinated for the Wimbledon Open. That's not what for the English. Jesus Christ, for Wimbledon and
Australian Open.
Australian Open, and we hope Westbrook finds form. We hope uh, we hope to see COVID die down in the future, and let's have these types of podcasts more often with more consistency.
Yeah, as they say,
And
new year, new us. We'll try to
yeah,
release new podcasts.
thank you
More
for
and more.
sticking with us. We'll see you next week, and I promise you that. Bye.